We are really interested in hiring a teacher who can use technology effectively. What will be your approach to using technology in your classroom, and why have you selected that approach? Please provide a concrete example of what this approach might look like in your classroom. What kinds of resources do you feel you need to take this approach in your classroom?
I've had the opportunity to learn about effective technology integration in the classroom and practice it through my practicum experiences. I believe that technology integration in the classroom is vital to enhance lessons and to engage students. I also believe that it allows educators to create an inclusive classroom, allowing lessons to include the needs of all students in the classroom. To integrate technology into my classroom successfully and effectively, I would integrate ISTE standards into lessons and activities along with academic state and national standards. ISTE standards prepare students to become empowered learners, digital citizens, knowledge constructors, innovative designers, computational thinkers, creative communicators, and global collaborators. I will integrate ISTE standards effectively into lessons and activities by using the Technology Integration Matrix, or the TIM, and the EEE framework. The TIM will allow me to create a meaningful learning environment to use technology to enhance learning by including the 5 characteristics: active, collaborative, constructive, authentic, and goal-directed. The 5 characteristics can be integrated in 5 different levels: entry, adoption, adaptation, infusion, and transformation. The EEE framework will allow me to determine whether student learning is occurring when digital technology tools are integrated into a lesson. It will also help me make decisions on how to integrate the digital technology tools into the lessons and activities. There are 3 components that makes up the framework: engagement and learning goals, enhancement of learning goals, and extension of learning goals. If I were to teach a lesson to first graders on endangered species, incorporating the use of QR codes to have my students record themselves reading an informative essay they wrote on endangered animals, I would use the EEE framework to evaluate the digital technology tools that I plan on integrating into the lesson and how they connect to learning goals. I would use the TIM to determine how the tool was being used by students. Using the TIM, I would first look at the characteristic active, and I would determine the level of integration the tool will provide. Since I will provide the tool and how to use the tool, but allow the students to explore and record their essay in whichever way they choose, the tool would be used at the adaptation level. I would go through all 5 characteristics to determine how the students will use the tool to determine if it is being used appropriately. I would use the EEE framework to determine if the digital technology tools meet the needs of my students and of my instructional goals. I would first determine what elements of engagement the tool has, then the features of enhancement the tool has, and lastly, how the technology is used to extend learning goals. After that, I would determine if the tool has the green light, meaning it effectively meets all 3 components of the framework. To use this approach in my classroom, I would need to have access to computers and other technology such as iPads. I would also need access to the digital technology tools to develop and complete lessons in the classroom.
As we strive to use technology more often, more effectively, we're concerned about our students' safety and ability to use technology appropriately. What sorts of things should we be thinking about as we wrestle with this concern?
Yes, technology is being used more in the classroom and at home by students. I believe that it is imperative that students know the rules of the digital world so they can use technology safely and responsibly. Digital citizenship should be considered when wrestling with the concern of students' safety and ability to use technology. Digital citizenship is the norms of appropriate, safe, and responsible use of technology. There are 9 elements of digital citizenship that were identified to accommodate technological changes that are taking place now and that will be taking place in the future. They help educators identify the technology issues so that resources can be provided to students to ensure that technology is being used safely and appropriately. The 9 elements are digital access, commerce, communication, literacy, etiquette, law, rights and responsibilities, health and wellness, and security. They are interconnected, working together to positively affect student learning and academic performance in school, and to positively affect the school environment and even student life outside of school. It is important to teach students how to use technology in school, but it is also important that they use technology safely and appropriately outside of school, since technology is prevalent in society.
Some of our teachers recently attended a conference where the focus was on students as designers and makers with technology. They also reported the use of the phrase students as producers commonly at the conference. What does it mean when students are designers, makers, and producers with technology, and is this something we should take seriously as we consider how to use technology across our school?
When students are designers, makers, and producers with technology, They are using many different technologies within a design process to help them identify and solve problems, creating new, useful, or imaginative solutions, which is an ISTE standard called Innovative Designer. They will design, make, and produce artifacts or solutions to problems. I believe it is important for students to be innovative designers because it allows students to use higher order thinking skills to solve problems, which is useful in school and in the real world. Through the design process, students will select digital tools that they will use to help with planning and carrying out their plan to solve a problem. Students will test their prototypes and determine if they need to be refined. When students are innovative designers, they develop a tolerance for open-ended problems, which also allows them to use computational thinking. The skills that students acquire through being innovative designers are useful for students to be successful in school and in society.
Modern education requires students expand their capacity to solve problems at a higher scale while using complex strategies. How can we help students with and without technology approach these problems? What sort of skills or thought processes help with these complex problem solving?
I agree that modern education requires students to solve problems at a higher scale while using complex strategies. I believe that problem-solving strategies are important for students to learn so that they can not only be successful in school but also in the real world. Our world is filled with challenges, and it is up to us as educators to prepare students to develop the problem-solving and critical thinking skills students will need to solve problems. I believe that computational thinking can prepare students for solving complex problems with and without technology. Computational thinking is a way of thinking that helps students understand how to use digital tools to solve problems that will arise in the future. Through computational thinking, students will learn how to think critically and solve complex problems. Even though computational thinking emphasizes the use of technology, I believe that computational thinking skills can be acquired without the use of technology. Some characteristics of computational thinkers are confidence in dealing with complexity, persistence in working with difficult problems, tolerance for ambiguity, ability to work with open-ended problems, and the ability to work with others to achieve a solution. I believe that all of these characteristics can be acquired through hands-on projects that include technology but does not necessarily have to. Some ways to develop computational thinking skills are to collect, analyze, and represent data, create simulations, and create algorithms and procedures.